fellow booktubers, my name is Lauren, you're watching Dreams with Courage, and this is another Top 5 Wednesday video, this one being over historical reads, and I assume by historical reads it means historical fiction reads, but it was very hard for me to even find 5 books that were actually historical fiction because I did not realize how little historical fiction I actually do read, and I definitely want to read more of it in the future, but for right now I have 4 books that are historical fiction and the 5th one is just historical. So in the 5th place spot we have pretty much all of the completed novels by Jane Austen. It's pretty odd that I mentioned this book on here because in its time period it was actually probably one of the first contemporary novels ever. But I do love her writing and she is the one who has made me love 1800s England, that Victorian era, and I just loved everything about her novels. And here we have Lady Susan, Northanger Abbey, Emma, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Persuasion, and Mansfield Park, and I've read all of her novels and I just love them so much. And so this is definitely historical from looking at it from our point of view, so I decided to include it anyways. And my 4th place spot is a contemporary novel that has some elements of historical fiction in it, so I decided to include it anyways, and that is City of Dark Magic by Magnus Flye. This tells a story of a girl and her travels to Prague, and she ends up taking a mysterious pill, and this pill actually allows her to see back in Beethoven's era. Prague is a very old city in the first place, and then you have these elements of historical fiction mixed in whenever we actually see Beethoven in the novel, and it's just very interesting how they mix contemporary and historical fiction. This next read is actually surprisingly historical fiction to some people, and it is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. This book was actually written like 40 years ahead of whenever the story actually happens, and the reason for that is to actually show the parallelism between before and after the Civil War because so few things change like they should have, and so Mark Twain definitely attacks that within this novel. Even though it just seems to be about a boy and his travels down a river, it is so much more than that. And it was just so important for the people of that time era to actually pick up Mark Twain's writing, and also it's just as important for people of our era to pick up this book. Next up we have The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, and this novel is about Amir's life before and after he comes to California, and it goes from Afghanistan in the final days of the monarchy to actually the present, so it's a very wide span of time, and it's all about Amir's life and how tragic it really is, but also telling the story of the Middle East, especially in Afghanistan. And this is a very important read for everyone to kind of understand the Middle East side of things, especially within Afghanistan, and to see how everyone is affected by wars and just evil groups in society. So it's really interesting to take a look at this book before and after 9/11 has happened, and just the historical fiction that goes along with it. And the final read that I have is the Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare. I love this trilogy because for one, it is historical fiction. It takes place in around the 1800s, which I absolutely love that time period as aforementioned. And also because it has a lot of fantasy elements in it as well. It takes place in the Shadowhunter world, and there are demons and angels and so many other fantastical creatures within these novels. And these covers are just so beautiful as well. I just love everything about this trilogy, and how it has kind of a steampunk element mixed with historical fiction and also with fantasy, and I just think that's really awesome, and these books are just such a great trilogy. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm sorry that I don't really have very much historical fiction, but if you guys have any recommendations for me to read in the historical fiction genre, then definitely leave your picks down below because I would just love to read more historical fiction, and I just really want to know what is just some amazing historical fiction. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'm gonna go get back to reading.